In the second year of the new emperor's reign, I was bestowed in marriage to the heir of the Marquis of Pingchang. The heir of the Marquis of Pingchang, Xiao Xing, styled Yu Ji, born of a noble family, a son of military commanders. His beauty and elegance were unparalleled in the world. Everyone was shocked by the ruthlessness of the new emperor's political maneuvering. To win over military power, he did not hesitate to use his childhood sweetheart as a pawn in a political marriage. After the marriage, the entire Pingchang Marquis household treated me with great respect. Xiao Xing and I treated each other with the utmost courtesy. After all, everyone believed that I would one day become the empress, but only I know, I will never sit on the queen's throne. Because both my cousin the emperor and I are time travelers, we, the good youth of the 21st century, don't engage in cousin romance. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now the story begins. When I was 18, Crown Prince Ji Sui ascended the throne and changed the reign title to Yi. In the second year of the new emperor's reign, I was bestowed in marriage to the heir of the Marquis of Pingchang. As soon as the imperial decree was announced, the entire court was shaken. Everyone was shocked by the ruthlessness of the new emperor's political maneuvering to win over military power. He did not hesitate to use his childhood sweetheart as a pawn in a political marriage. After all, given the deep bond one shared with the new emperor over the years, everyone assumed I would become the empress. It was well known throughout the capital that the Princess of Changle lost both parents at a young age, endured a tragic upbringing, and was raised in the deep palace under the care of the empress. She grew up side by side with the current emperor, sharing hardships and supporting each other through adversity. Everyone believed I would become the most honored woman in the land. All the noble ladies and women in the capital lamented with regret. Xiao Xing was such a coveted prize, a scion of an aristocratic family, a son of a military house, a man of unparalleled handsomeness, unmatched in the world. At the age of 8, he mounted a horse, a natural-born military genius. By 14, he accompanied the Marquis of Pingchang to the southwestern border to quell a rebellion, leading 8,000 elite troops in a night raid on the barbarians' stronghold and capturing their chieftain alive. Then, in the first year of the new emperor's reign, he led 20,000 elite cavalry of the Xiao family, appointed as the Northern Pacification Commissioner, and went north to suppress a rebellion, slaying the rebellious prince of Zhunbei on the battlefield. From then on, the achievements of the Xiao family's cavalry overshadowed even the emperor's, leaving no higher honors to bestow. Such a fine young man has actually become a political sacrifice. But the imperial decree has been issued, the wedding date has been set, and the current emperor has also ordered me to establish my own palace residence, choosing a location in the busiest and most prosperous central commercial area, right next to the former prince's mansion before the new emperor ascended the throne, and just a street away from the Pingchang Marquis residence. In addition, I was granted 3 properties in the most expensive areas of Chang'an City, plus 2 estates in the outskirts of Chang'an and on Zhongnan Mountain, along with a de facto fief of 5,000 households and 2 guard units of over 1,000 soldiers. The rewards broke all precedents and were so generous that everyone sighed in amazement. Truly the emperor's heart is unfathomable, both the most affectionate and the most heartless. On the 6th day of the 6th month, I married Xiao Xing, the heir of Pingchang Marquis. I departed from the princess's residence, and the dowry was carried from north to south, winding through the entire capital before entering the Pingchang Marquis's estate. Xiao Xing came to welcome the bride with his elite cavalry. The wedding carriage moved steadily, accompanied by the clamor of gongs and drums. The common people cared little for political marriages. Everyone who saw Xiao Xing congratulated him loudly. After all, the Xiao family had safeguarded decades of peace in day, and they were beloved by all. Xiao Xing sat high on his fine horse, cupping his hands in acknowledgement of the congratulations, his jade-like face showing no expression, nor any hint of the joy one might expect from a groom, upon arriving at Pingchang Marquis Manor and stepping out of the bridal sedan. What Xiao Xing offered was not his hand, but the other end of a red silk ribbon. There was no intimacy, only formality. I paused for a moment, then took hold of the silk ribbon. Led by Xiao Xing, I stepped over the fire basin and entered the main hall of the Xiao family. The old Marquis Xiao had 3 sons and 1 daughter. The eldest legitimate son, who was Xiaoxing's father, inherited the title. Xiaoxing had 2 older male cousins ahead of him, making him the third among the Xiao family's male descendants. Those close to him called him third young master. We bowed to heaven and earth to the melodic chants of the wedding officiant. It wasn't until we were seated on the wedding bed that Xiaoxing released the red silk ribbon that had been guiding me. I could sense many people in the wedding chamber. The Xiao family maintained strict discipline. And since Xiaoxing was the youngest, with his elder brothers having married years earlier, there were at least 5 or 6 children from the younger generation present. Yet, surprisingly, they all remained quiet. Perhaps, compared to the future third sister-in-law, they all only see me as the Princess Changle. The wedding was presided over by experienced elders sent from the palace, dignified and proper. When the time came, Xiaoxing picked up the wedding scale and lifted my red veil. The light shifted from dim to bright, the scent of incense in the air grew stronger, and amidst the festive atmosphere, I met Xiaoxing's deep, dark eyes, facing each other. I blinked and offered a faint smile to my elegant and handsome new husband. A muffled exclamation of surprise came from the bridal chamber, followed by cheers and congratulations. Red candles flickered, the atmosphere was enchanting, and someone was singing, "When the golden wind meets the jade dew." It surpasses all the countless moments in the mortal world. I have long resided in the deep palace, praised for my innate intelligence since youth. Yet everyone regarded me as a stranger. Now that the bridal veil was lifted, everyone in the room couldn't help but look at me with curiosity. Thanks to my mother who passed away early, I was blessed with a beautiful face. But just how beautiful is it? Before Ji Sui ascended the throne, he once remarked. Thankfully, the old emperor is genuinely my uncle. Otherwise, given my father's nature, I'd probably end up calling you stepmother. With a jade-like complexion and a delicate, flower-reflected-in-water charm, when I stay silent, I truly embody an ethereal, fairy-like beauty. The little girl closest to me suddenly exclaimed, "The bride is so beautiful." The woman behind the little girl quickly held her. I smiled at the little girl and replied softly, "You're very pretty too." As soon as the words were spoken, the atmosphere became much more lively. The wedding attendant brought over a tray, and Xiaoxing picked up a pair of scissors. He cut off a lock of his own hair, then carefully approached me and took hold of a strand of my hair. Breaths mingled, carrying a warm fragrance. Xiaoxing's movements were restrained, not even touching my clothes. The wedding matron sang again, tying hair to become husband and wife, never parting until white-haired old age. The warm wine went down, and the ceremonial exchange of cups was completed. Xiaoxing lowered his gaze to look at me and said softly, "Princess, you may have someone serve the meal. I will return after accompanying the guests." No need to wait long. The groom had gone to the front hall to entertain the guests, and those who had been playfully teasing the newlyweds in the bridal chamber had tactfully dispersed, leaving only 2 women behind. Both were strikingly beautiful, gentle, and amiable. The slightly taller woman smiled first and said, "Princess, I am the eldest sister-in-law of the third uncle, and this is the second sister-in-law." The slightly plump second sister-in-law was the mother of the little girl who had spoken earlier. "The child doesn't know proper manners and nearly offended you, Princess," she said, and then proceeded to guide the little girl in making a formal bow. I quickly stopped them and said gently, "From today onward, we are family. Please just call me by my name, Xuanji." The 2 exchanged a glance but still insisted, "Your status is noble, and etiquette must not be neglected." I sighed inwardly. Even after marrying into the family, they were still so formal. It wasn't me who was noble, but the new emperor behind me. The attendants I brought had served me since childhood and knew I preferred quiet. After finishing their tasks, they withdrew to the outer chamber to wait. After the meal, I lay on the bed and browsed through a book of erotic illustrations, something my brother had slipped to me when I got married. The new emperor reluctantly parted with his treasure, handing it over to me with great reluctance. "This is the masterpiece by the court painter Fan. If it weren't for your wedding, I wouldn't have been willing to give it to you." I took the Spring Palace painting wrapped in a cover titled Imperial Strategies, utterly bewildered. Master Fan actually stooped to painting this, my brother said smugly. That's why being the emperor is so great. Now, looking at this erotic picture book wrapped in the cover of Imperial Strategies, I can't help but marvel at why everyone wants to be emperor. So this is the kind of feast my brother got to enjoy every day. From the outer chamber came Xiangyi's voice greeting someone. Unhurried, I closed the erotic book, got off the bed, and locked eyes with my freshly minted husband as he walked in. This was the first time I had examined him so closely, and the more I looked, the more I felt I had stumbled upon a treasure. His brows swept sharply toward his temples, his eyes were dark as lacquer, his nose was high and his lips thin, a uniquely refined handsomeness. Xiaoxing had trained in the military for 7 or 8 years, his skin now much darker, compared to the sharp-edged, elegant nobleman from the capital I remembered from my childhood. His aura now carried more of a mature man's steadiness and depth. At this moment, dressed in wedding attire, his imposing presence had softened considerably, like a blood-stained battle blade sheathed and restrained. While I was still pondering which positions from the erotic illustrations I had just seen to try with this battle blade, Xiaoxing was the first to bow and say, "I reek of alcohol and fear offending the princess. Allow me to wash up first." With that, he lifted the curtain and entered the bathing chamber. I'm impotent, I should have seen this coming. Xiaoxing must have thought that the new emperor arranged the marriage to win over military power. Well, that's certainly true. The Xiao army's regular forces number 30,000. Over the years of suppressing rebellions in the southwest, several units were incorporated, nearly doubling the size. Not to mention the Yue army personally selected and trained by Xiaoxing over the years, nearly 30,000 elite cavalry, 30,000 elite troops. If I were the emperor, I wouldn't be able to sleep either, let alone my brother. Given the relationship between me and my emperor brother, if I hadn't taken a liking to Xiaoxing, Ji Sui wouldn't have stooped to such methods. This is one of the downsides of ancient times. Cousins could marry, but my brother and I are both transmigrated. Not only are we as close as real siblings, but from a moral standpoint, we can't get into the whole cousin romance trope. But others don't see it that way. Judging by the attitude of the Xiao family members towards me today, it didn't feel like they were welcoming a new bride, but rather like they had brought home a bodhisattva from the temple. A quarter of an hour later, Xiaoxing walked into the inner room, looking fresh and clean. With his hair down, he suddenly looked much younger, and that stern aura of his softened considerably. Now, he actually appeared to be his age of 22. Come to think of it, in another era, he'd still be considered a young college guy. The young man poured himself a cup of tea, drank it all in one go, and then asked, "Has the princess eaten yet?" "I've eaten," I replied, sitting at the table. "Would you like something to eat?" "I'll have a bit." The banquet was all wine. I called for a meal, and the small kitchen had already prepared it. Xiao Heng sat down opposite me with a commanding presence. He had many habits cultivated from his time in the military, such as washing and eating by himself, never needing anyone to serve him. Good, I nodded inwardly. We're quite compatible. Xiaoxing ate quickly, his movements efficient and elegant. He finished 2 bowls of rice, and only after the meal was cleared away and he had washed his hands did he look at me and say, "I usually stay at the military camp and rarely eat at home. Before marriage, I generally go to the front courtyard to eat with my family. The Changfeng courtyard where I live is far from the front courtyard, so there generally won't be any disturbances. If the princess isn't accustomed to the food, you can also bring your own cook." The small kitchen was prepared by my mother before the wedding. This isn't just about having meals, it's practically saying outright that from now on, the Xiao family and I can leave each other alone. I didn't say whether it was good or not, I just asked, "What about you?" Xiaoxing paused. "It depends on the princess's wishes." "My wishes," I smiled. "Since we're already married, we're family from now on. Of course we should be together," Xiaoxing said without changing his expression. "Thank you for your understanding." "Princess," I sighed. "My name is Li Xuanji." Xiaoxing only said that etiquette must not be neglected. "All right," I compromised. "Then what should I call you?" "Husband, Yuji." I watched Xiaoxing's increasingly flushed face and leaned in a bit closer, whispering, or should I say, Sanlang. Xiao Sanlang picked up his teacup and took a sip to hide his emotions. Your Highness may address me by my courtesy name, Yuji, I smiled. Given the situation today, consummating the marriage was out of the question unless I forced the matter. Unfortunately, I've always preferred mutual consent. The palace matron sent to eavesdrop on the wedding night is one of my people. I know you're unwilling, and that our marriage is likely due to the Emperor's decree. I stood up. I won't make things difficult for you. We have to pay respects to the elders tomorrow, so let's rest early. I got onto the marriage bed and saw Xiao Xingjing's figure sitting at the table through the screen. After a while, he turned off the lamp, and the bed beside me sank. Xiaoxing got into bed. Xiaoxing was quite tall, probably around 189 centimeters, combined with years of military training. His presence was still quite imposing when he lay down, but it was useless to me, because I only wanted to sleep with him. The more intense he was, the better to sleep with, the stronger the sense of oppression, the more satisfying it was to sleep with him. It's a pity people treat me like a bodhisattva to worship, with such reverence that it leaves me lacking in interest. So I had a good night's sleep. The next day, I was awakened by Xiang Yi at 6 in the morning, the hour of Mao. As it was time to pay respects, Xiaoxing had already washed and dressed, wearing a light-colored brocade robe with a jade pendant at his waist, standing tall and graceful, still half asleep. I drowsily let Xiang Yi wash my face and apply my makeup. As I stepped into the courtyard, a cool breeze swept over me, jolting me awake. Xiao walked beside me, matching my pace. The old matriarch and the elders are all easygoing people. If the princess finds it difficult to rise early in the future, you may simply send someone to inform them. From yesterday until now, he had repeatedly, both overtly and subtly, tried to create distance between us. No matter how good-tempered I was not made of clay. I replied coldly, I won't trouble your Xiao family. Xiaoxing fell silent. We passed through the first corridor before he finally said, that's not what I meant. I didn't respond. There were several steps ahead of me. As soon as I lifted my foot, Xiaoxing stepped forward and grabbed my arm. I accepted this gesture of goodwill. After all, I still had ulterior motives. I still wanted to sleep with him. After passing through a small garden and 2 long corridors, I finally reached the front courtyard. As the servant went to announce my arrival, I found myself feeling a rare moment of regret. Not regret over my quarrel with Xiaoxing, but regret that I hadn't agreed right away earlier. Such a long journey. Whoever wants to pay their respects can come to me instead. Back in the imperial palace, I always used a sedan chair. The first time I met the Xiao family, there was nothing much to say. They only saw me as a princess, not as the daughter-in-law of the Xiao family. That's easy enough, just follow the rituals properly and get through the ceremony. Xiaoxing was supposed to have 10 days of wedding leave, but the military camp couldn't do without him, so, after paying respects and finishing breakfast, he left. I strongly suspect the sweetheart I've set my eyes on is avoiding me. I can look but not eat, and now you're avoiding me too. I mourned for a quarter of an hour, lamenting my future life of widowhood, then began planning how I would arrange my new residence at Changfeng Courtyard. As expected of the heir, Xiaoxing's courtyard was enormous. Beyond the expected study and training grounds, it even had 2 separate gardens. One garden was large, the other small, divided by the study. A clear pond meandered through, with pavilions scattered about, though everything appeared rather neglected and desolate. With a wave of my hand, the people I brought along, all of whom had served in the palace since childhood, skillfully gave the place a complete makeover from top to bottom. Even if Changfeng Courtyard was too far away, it was impossible not to hear the commotion, yet no one said a word. Only the Marquis's wife sent someone to ask twice if there was anything we needed. The renovation took a full month. During that time, the Xiao family and I kept to ourselves, including Xiaoxing. Yes, this hot commodity hadn't returned for a whole month. It was as if he had entered into a sham marriage. Even my cheap emperor brother wrote to mock me. It's been a month, and you haven't even managed to taste Xiaoxing, let alone get a lick. Are you even capable? I drew a middle finger and sent it back to him. I'm someone who knows how to live well. It's fine if I don't have a man, but I can't do without a good life. I went about my business as usual, blending incense, tasting tea, reading books, managing my dowry and the catering businesses under my name, and enjoying 3 elaborate meals a day: hot pot, grilled meat, snail rice noodles, milk tea, jelly, ice cream. After just 1 week of eating, 4 or 5 little greedy cats appeared at the entrance of Changfeng Courtyard. The Xiao family's child is truly well behaved. I don't know how they taught him, but there's not a hint of a naughty child about him. Though he seemed a bit flustered upon seeing me, he still bowed like a proper little adult and said, "Greetings, Your Highness." Oh my God, it's so cute I can't stand it. My female guard carried the string of little radishes into my courtyard one by one, letting them eat their fill. That evening, various courtyards sent items to Changfeng Courtyard, ranging from pastries to jewelry. It seemed to be a signal. From then on, the Xiao family began to tentatively interact with me. Who am I? The former social butterfly of the palace. I could even win over the strictest matron by the Empress Dowager's side, let alone those naive and simple-minded ladies of the Xiao family. One after another, the 2 sisters-in-law would occasionally come to Changfeng Courtyard to sit for a while. In just half a month, little Carrot Head was already calling out sister-in-law with great delight. Later on, the old lady would have me go to her courtyard. The old lady was a female general in her youth. Having truly been on the battlefield, I have nothing but respect for her. She has a serious nature, not as gentle and soft as my 2 sisters-in-law. But she always invites me to stay for a meal. Another half-month passed, and Xiao Xing, who had been in the military camp for 2 months, finally returned home. As soon as I entered the front yard, I saw a circle of little kids surrounding me, calling me sister-in-law, while his parents and sister-in-law were sitting around the dining table. What a delightful scene of family happiness and harmony. The scene quieted for a moment, then grew even more lively. Everyone quickly greeted him. But I remained seated. Only when Xiaoxing sat beside me did I call out, "Yuji." Xiaoxing paused for a moment before letting out a low hum of acknowledgement. The eldest and second sisters-in-law exchanged glances, sharing a knowing, teasing smile. Xiaoxing had returned following his father's orders. Every year, the matriarch would go to Jing'an Temple to pray for blessings. In the past, when Xiaoxing and his father were not at home, the eldest brother would escort her. This time, with everyone finally together and coinciding with a day off, the whole family would go together. The meal was filled with joy and harmony. The chef was one I had brought with me, and the Xiao family took well to the variety of new dishes. After the meal, we drank tea, and Xiaoxing and I headed back to Changfeng Courtyard. The moonlight was as cool as water. Xiaoxing asked, "How has the princess been lately?" "Living the life of a grass widow," I said. What could possibly be good or bad about it? Xiaoxing was greatly shocked, staring at me wide-eyed and speechless, his face turning both red and pale, unable to utter a word for a moment. I thought to myself, being able to make the usually expressionless Xiaoxing show such a look was a win. It took Xiaoxing quite a while to regain his composure. He looked at me and suddenly bowed in apology. "I have not been a good husband these past 2 months. This apology is not because you are a noble lady, but because you are my wife." A gentle breeze brushed past, and I stared at him in stunned silence. Well, now it was my turn to be utterly speechless. We walked back to Changfeng Courtyard in silence. Perhaps it was the earlier apology, or perhaps it was because I got along well with his family, but the atmosphere tonight felt much softer. After washing up, Xiaoxing didn't go to the study. Instead, he sat in a recliner reading military strategy books. As for me, I was still buried in my imperial strategies, studying diligently. However, when Xiaoxing came to bed and saw my copy of imperial strategies lying nearby, his expression shifted slightly. After I turned to face him, he still hesitated before speaking. "Do you enjoy reading this kind of book?" I nodded earnestly and said I did, then reassured him, "Don't worry, this was given to me by His Majesty. There's no breach of protocol." Xiaoxing fell asleep with a troubled heart. The next day, after the Xiao family finished their morning meal, they set off for Jing'an Temple. Jing'an Temple became the foremost temple in Day, largely thanks to that old charlatan, Wu Jue. Ah, no, it was mainly because of Wujue, the monk who could see through the heavens' secrets. After all, the moment that bald donkey laid eyes on my brother and me, he chanted a Buddhist mantra and said, "You two are not of this world." At that time, my brother and I hadn't yet acknowledged each other, we were just your typical fake royal siblings. Hearing his words, I replied, "Odd changes to even, unchanged. My brother, the sign depends on the quadrant." My brother and I instantly hugged each other and burst into tears. Family. After returning to the palace, the Empress secretly summoned the imperial physician to examine our brains. She only had these two children under her care. What if both turned out to be fools? In any case, my connection with Jing'an Temple runs deep. The Dowager Lady Xiao wanted to listen to the abbot's sermon, but I've never been able to stand monks chanting scriptures. After telling Xiao Xing, I headed to the rear courtyard. Wujue was usually slacking off in the rear courtyard. My brother and I often liked to go there and chat with him, discussing the philosophies of life. As luck would have it, I spotted some disguised imperial guards in the courtyard. It seemed my brother had sneaked out of the palace again today for some fresh air. The imperial guards saluted me. I greeted them with a long time no see and went straight into the tea room. The incense smoke curled gracefully indoors. The steam from the tea misted the air. What a scene of mystical pretense. The current emperor poured me a cup of tea. "Isn't this the newlywed of the Xiao family? You're just trying to annoy me," I said, abandoning all the grace of a noble lady as I sat cross-legged and drank the tea, sighing contentedly. "So comfortable." Wujue laughed and said, "The princess is still as unrestrained as ever." The new emperor asked me, "How is married life treating you?" "Not so well," I said, gazing at him gloomily. "You've become the emotional third wheel in our marriage." The emperor snorted. "Serves you right. I told you from the start that the Xiao family doesn't know the real nature of our relationship. I knew you wouldn't have an easy time there." Before I could retort, my female guard reported that the Xiao heir was coming this way to find me. Damn, my first instinct was to pull the new emperor toward the back window. "What are you doing? Why should I hide? Xiaoxing already thinks there's something going on between us. If he comes over and sees you, it'll be even harder to explain. Hurry up and go." As the new emperor clumsily climbed out the window, he yelled, "Wait a minute. I'm the emperor, the damn emperor. You are now my spiritual mistress." I waved a hand at the imperial guards and the golden guard in the distance. "All of you, leave. No one stays." By the time Xiaoxing arrived, the secret rendezvous scene had been cleared away. Wujue acted as if he had seen nothing and greeted him. "Young Master Xiao." Xiaoxing returned the greeting, walked over, and sat down beside me, asking gently, "You and Master Wujue are acquainted?" I played the innocent. "When I was young, my health was poor, and I recuperated at Jing'an Temple." Wujue poured him tea. "The princess is intelligent, with a wise nature, and she can chat well with this old monk." With Xiaoxing present, I couldn't banter with Wujue. After drinking tea for 3/4 of an hour, the old madam sent someone to urge us, so we stood up to take our leave. Xiaoxing and I walked side by side on the way down the mountain. When we reached Peach Blossom Pond, Xiaoxing suddenly said, "The emperor was inside just now, wasn't he?" I stumbled and nearly fell into the pond. Xiaoxing quickly grabbed my arm, releasing it immediately once I steadied myself, and said with downcast eyes, "When I arrived, there were 3 cups in the tea room, and they were drinking golden melon tribute tea, which is priceless and hard to come by." I was speechless. When I was at the foot of the mountain, I spotted the disguised imperial guards. The imperial guards and I were once classmates, and we are quite familiar with each other. Xiaoxing looked at me deeply. I knew the emperor was there and originally intended to go pay my respects. I let out a sigh, wishing I could slap myself for being so clever. Well, now my brother has officially become the emotional homewrecker, a certified third party. "I was just catching up with the emperor," I said hastily. As soon as the words left my mouth, I wanted to slap myself. When people panic, they say the stupidest things. That made it sound like my brother and I really had something going on. Xiaoxing didn't wait for my explanation. His long eyelashes fluttered slightly as he turned his head away and said softly, "No matter what, since you've married me, you are my wife." He walked forward. "Let's go." I'll tell the Imperial Army that you just came up for tea, so we shouldn't keep them waiting." After returning from Jing'an Temple, the already improved relationship between Xiao Xingban and me had once again fallen to a freezing point. Shang Bobobo once again used the excuse of military camp duties, packed his bags, and went into hiding to avoid me. I just don't know if this time he's going to hide for another 2 months. The Xiao family must have noticed something was off. But they probably just thought it was a typical quarrel between a young couple. To keep me from overthinking, my 2 sisters-in-law came to cheer me up. "All the Xiao men are like this," the elder sister-in-law said with a laugh. "Each one is more tight-lipped than the last, and third uncle is the champion among them. Just give in a little." The younger sister-in-law, who was gentler, took my hand and said, "Although third uncle appears cold and stern, he's actually the kindest at heart. If you give him a way out, he'll surely come to comfort you." I thanked my sisters-in-law for their kindness, gave them some jewelry, then returned to my room, lay down on the recliner, and sighed deeply. This isn't a matter of steps or status, it's Xiaoxing believing he's wearing a cuckold's hat. In this situation, even if I were to hold Xiaoxing's hand and tell him that the current emperor and I are as close as siblings, he wouldn't believe me. Moreover, at this morning's court session, there were ministers impeaching Xiaoxing, accusing his subordinates of commanding 30,000 elite troops and harboring rebellious intentions. The Marquis of Pingchang immediately knelt to express his loyalty and promptly surrendered the remaining military power in his hands. The now famous Xiao family army actually only has Xiaoxing's Yuyi army left under its military command. The relationship between us has truly become somewhat delicate now. I somewhat regret it. Male charm is truly misleading. The moment I saw Xiaoxing's face, I lost my head and insisted that my brother bestow the marriage. Now it's done, and this fruit is truly hard to swallow. I sighed again. Damn this ancient era, what's with all the cousin romance? We good youths of the 21st century really don't do the cousin literature thing. Good youths of the 21st century indeed don't engage in cousin literature, but ancient people did. If my husband Xiaoxing hadn't been interrupted by my meddling, he would have almost gotten involved too. A distant cousin from the Pingchang Marquis family came to visit. She was from the old madam's maternal family. I didn't think much of it at first, until my female guard told me that the old madam had once intended for this cousin to marry Xiaoxing. During the midday banquet, the old madam sent someone to invite me over for a meal, and I met this distant cousin. The young lady kept her head lowered. After the old madam introduced her, she curtsied to me. I couldn't see her face, only her cloud-like hair bun and the slender, pale nape of her neck as she bowed. She truly possesses the demeanor and temperament of a well-bred young lady from a respectable family. During the meal, I finally saw my cousin's face clearly. She was indeed a delicate beauty. To be honest, I hadn't developed any particular feelings toward this young lady until the maid came to announce that Xiaoxing had returned to the residence. My temper flared up instantly. For the first time, I didn't stay to eat at the old madam's place. Using the excuse of feeling unwell, I returned to Changfeng Courtyard. I hadn't been back in Changfeng Courtyard for even a quarter of an hour when Xiaoxing returned. I was a bit surprised. I had thought he would have his meal in the old madam's courtyard. Xiaoxing swiftly took off his long gown and changed into casual home clothes. Walking into the bedroom, he asked me, "The old madam said you're not feeling well. Should we call for a physician to take a look?" I looked at him. It had only been a month since we last met. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling that he seemed somewhat unfamiliar. I lowered my gaze and said softly, "My heart hurts." Xiaoxing immediately crouched down anxiously and asked gently, "What's wrong?" I took his hand and placed it on my chest, looking into his dark eyes as I said, "Xiaoxing, I'm jealous." Xiaoxing's eyes widened instantly, and soon even his ears turned pink. He stammered, Eat what vinegar? Eat your cousin's vinegar." Xiaoxing's body temperature was too high, the heat from his palm spreading through my hand to my chest. I leaned closer to him, placing both hands on his shoulders. "Did you come back because of your cousin?" "No." Xiaoxing's movements were somewhat stiff. "It was just a coincidence." I leaned even closer to him. "Then, have you ever thought about getting engaged to your cousin?" "It's not my wish, but the elders in the family insisted." This time, Xiaoxing spoke without hesitation. "I refused." Before the emperor's marriage decree was issued, I curved the corners of my mouth and asked him, "How does your cousin usually address you?" Xiaoxing hesitated for a moment, but still answered truthfully. "She calls me Cousin Xiao." "Oh, Cousin Xiao," I leaned against his shoulder and said softly, "Why doesn't she call you Brother Xiao?" In an instant, Xiaoxing's ears turned from pink to red. He tightened his grip on my hand and called out, "Your Highness, still calling me Your Highness at a time like this?" I blew gently into his ear and whispered, "Or does she call you Yuji too?" Xiaoxing's breathing grew rapid, his chest heaving intensely. I continued to tease him, "Neither." "Then what does she call you?" "Sanlang." The next second, I gasped in surprise as Xiaoxing lifted me with one arm and pinned me down on the bed. In the mingling of breaths, with heartbeats drumming, he looked into my eyes and whispered, "Are you jealous because I'm in your heart?" I wrapped my arms around his neck and said with a laugh, "What do you think, Sanlang?" Sanlang's overwhelmingly imposing presence descended along with his kiss. The warm curtains fell, the bed was soft, the candlelight shifted the shadows, concealing the faint sound of water. The skirt slipped down, Xiaoxing's palm was rough, his large hand brushed past my ear, hooking my sweat-drenched black hair behind it. Our breaths rose and fell. Xiaoxing said to me in a hoarse voice, "I grew up in the military since childhood, with a strict family upbringing. I've never had this before. If I hurt you, you must call out to me." Oh my, I closed my eyes. Feeling my heart pounding wildly, thinking that Xiaoxing was truly a captivating enchantress, I bit the tip of my tongue to regain a bit of reason and replied, "If I call out to you, will you stop? Then bite me." Xiaoxing tilted his head to kiss me, murmuring, "Call me third brother." Not only did I call him third brother, but I also called him husband, Yuji, Xiaoxing, brother Xiao, and cousin Xiao. I called him every name in once. Xiaoxing, this sweet treat is truly delicious. Sleeping with him is truly thrilling and satisfying. I apologized to my past self. How could I ever regret the arranged marriage? If I had regretted it, would I be eating this well? The only shortcoming is that Xiaoxing is severely lacking in experience. Many things from the Emperor's strategy haven't been tried yet. But it's fine. Xiaoxing is incredibly considerate and always willing to listen and try out any suggestions. After my shower, I lay in bed during my post-clarity moment, reflecting. We have plenty of time to take it slow and practice. Xiaoxing came out of the shower feeling refreshed all over. He got into bed and asked me gently, "Are you feeling any discomfort?" Damn, he even collects feedback afterward. I hugged him and rubbed my face vigorously against his chest muscles. The only discomfort is that it was too comfortable. I thought to myself, oh my god, the past few months of living like a widow after marrying into this family were truly wasted. After we became intimate, my relationship with Xiaoxing progressed by leaps and bounds. Suddenly, the military camp wasn't so busy anymore, and he could return to the residence half the time within 10 days. With this sweet treat having more time, my ways of enjoying him became varied. In just 3 short months, we had already studied half of the knowledge in the Emperor's strategies. Xiaoxing was truly adorable. And the most endearing thing was that even after studying the Emperor's strategies for so long, he would still blush. The key is that this kid learns too fast. Even while blushing, he was learning under my guidance and could even apply what he learned to other situations. The growing closeness between us couldn't be hidden from the people in the mansion. The Marquis's wife and the Dowager sent many things to my courtyard. At first, I didn't understand why, until my female guard reminded me. "The Xiao family is hoping you'll become pregnant." I nearly spat out my tea. "You're thinking way too far ahead." I immediately felt a headache coming on, well-fed and warm. One's thoughts turned to lust. I just wanted to have a good time, nothing more. I rubbed the rim of the cup thoughtfully. I've been here for so long, and because of my status, I've lived quite freely. Plus, most of my thoughts align with my brother's, so I really can't get into the mindset of ancient people. But Xiaoxing is a genuine ancient person. The education he received and his upbringing are completely different from mine. Can't he sense my carefree, live-for-the-moment attitude? Impossible. To put it more bluntly, I thought I was dating Xiaoxing, but in Xiaoxing's view, we were already married and had responsibilities to each other. Even so, He still went along with my wishes and never lectured me on how I should behave as someone's bride. No, I forgot the most important point. Xiaoxing still believes to this day that I have something going on with my brother. I set down my teacup, my feelings incredibly complicated. From Xiaoxing's perspective, his wife and the new emperor grew up together as childhood sweethearts. In order to win over his military power as a subject, the new emperor did not hesitate to sacrifice his own childhood friend. The three of us are painfully entangled in a web of power, love, and hatred. What a heart-wrenching, tragic love triangle. What the hell? I slammed the table. This situation couldn't go on any longer, it had to be resolved as soon as possible. I called for the female guard, write a letter to my brother, inviting him to meet me outside the palace after he's finished with his mid-autumn festival duties, at the tea house under my name. I added, and tell my brother I've finished reading the Emperor's strategy. Are there any new ones? The female guard twitched at the corner of her eye, accepted the order, and silently withdrew. That evening, the younger generation of the Xiao family, the youngest son of the eldest brother, was celebrating his birthday, and Xiaoxing returned to the residence earlier than usual. I had the kitchen prepare a cake and some small desserts, and also commissioned a skilled craftsman from the palace to make a lifelike horse figurine. The prototype of the figurine was Xiaoxing's black horse, which had accompanied him on the battlefield for many years, a true war horse. The child was immediately captivated and couldn't put it down, hugging me as he sweetly said, "Thank you, sister-in-law." Everyone laughed, and my sister-in-law even teased, "When are you two going to add a new member to the family?" Xiaoxing didn't say anything, and I brushed it off with a laugh. After the birthday banquet, we returned to Changfeng Courtyard. It was a summer night, and the courtyard felt exceptionally cool because of the two ponds. I was lying on a chair, going through the quarterly reports of my catering business, when Xiaoxing came in after practicing martial arts, drank a cup of cold tea, and suddenly said, "The emperor intends to appoint the eldest granddaughter of Grand Tutor Ju as the empress." I let out an "oh," my eyes still fixed on the report. Sister Ju comes from a family of scholars and officials, gentle and kind-hearted. She is indeed fit to be the empress. Xiaoxing remained silent for a long time before saying, "The emperor's marriage has been delayed for a long time. Even when he was the crown prince, he never appointed a crown princess." This statement crossed a line. Based on Xiaoxing's usual character, he wouldn't say such a thing. Unfortunately, I've been accustomed to being rebellious and didn't find anything wrong with it. I was about to speak when I suddenly realized, damn it. I sat up abruptly. After my coming-of-age ceremony at 15, no marriage arrangements were made for me. Everyone naturally assumed that my brother hadn't appointed a crown princess because he intended to make me his empress after ascending the throne. I looked at Xiaoxing's deep, intense gaze and immediately felt my head spinning with confusion. How was I supposed to explain to Xiaoxing our modern concept of strict adulthood at 18? The reason I hadn't established a crown princess back then was because Sister Ju had just reached the age of 15, and my brother thought marrying a 15-year-old girl was just too perverse. I hadn't even discussed marriage at 15 and only married Xiaoxing at 19. All because of our deeply ingrained concept of adulthood. If it weren't for the fear that Xiaoxing, a 22-year-old man already considered old for marriage due to his delay caused by quelling rebellions, would get engaged, both my brother and I would have preferred to wait before arranging the marriage. After all, getting married at 19, in the eyes of my brother and me, is somewhat challenging. I coughed lightly. When Grand Tutor Ju taught us our early lessons as children, Sister Ju was also present. It's just that Sister Ju has a delicate constitution and rarely appeared in public, so Sister Ju and my brother are also childhood sweethearts. Do you understand? Xiaoxing didn't speak, silently pouring a second cup of cold tea. I walked over and placed my hand on his shoulder. Normally, Xiaoxing would have automatically spread his legs to let me sit on his lap, but today he was acting like a clueless, rigid straight guy. Yuji, I called out softly, "The reason I haven't discussed marriage since my coming-of-age ceremony is that Her Majesty the Empress Dowager wanted me to stay by her side for a couple more years." I couldn't tell whether Xiaoxing believed me or not. "Sanlang," I called out to him again, drawing out my voice, Xiao Sanlang finally parted his legs, and I settled onto his lap with practiced ease, planting a smacking kiss on his cheek. Xiao Sanlang's face flushed red once more. I gave him another smacking kiss, wrapped my arms around his neck, and cooed, "Come play outside with me for the Mid-Autumn Festival." "Okay, Yuji, Sanlang, brother Xiao." Before I could say something even more embarrassing, Xiaoxing sealed my lips with a kiss and said, "All right, on the 15th day of the 8th month, the Mid-Autumn Festival, a time to pluck the laurel under the full moon, a banquet was held in the palace to celebrate with the ministers. So Xiaoxing had no choice but to attend the Mid-Autumn feast with my elder brother, the emperor. I went alone first to the restaurant under my name, located by the moat, on this festive occasion. It was filled with distinguished guests, the air lively with the sounds of music and chatter. The celestial know, one room is most suitable for moon viewing. Not long after I began admiring the moon, my emperor brother swaggered in, fanning himself, accompanied by disguised imperial guards, his personal eunuch, and imperial bodyguards. I sighed. Why don't you bring more people? Otherwise, how would anyone know the emperor is traveling incognito? Don't be sarcastic. The new emperor tapped my head with his fan. I've sent people to delay Xiaoxing. He'll probably arrive about 3/4 of an hour late. Say whatever you need to say, I murmured gloomily. This feels even more like a secret rendezvous between illicit lovers. Can't you say something nice? The new emperor sat down. I've brought you the second half of Imperial Strategies today. Oh, my dear brother. I immediately poured him tea. You must be tired from coming all the way from the palace. With your busy schedule, you still remember your little sister's small matter. Here, have some tea to quench your thirst. The new emperor suppressed a laugh. Are you this shameless in front of Xiaoxing too? As long as he likes it. After my playful banter, I got down to serious business. You need to find a way to clarify our pure sibling relationship. How do I clear things up? The new emperor said with a shameless grin. I summoned Xiaoxing to the imperial study and told him, "My dear minister, your humble servant and your wife are completely innocent. Don't misunderstand that we have an affair. Live peacefully with my sister." As soon as the words left his mouth, even the eunuch standing beside him couldn't help but laugh. Furious, I threw the pastry right at his face. The new emperor calmly picked up the pastry that had rolled off his face and ate it. If a marriage is to work, it must be built on trust. If Xiaoxing can't even give me that much trust, then what's the point of continuing this life together? How is that the same? I said angrily. People in ancient times were always pairing cousins together. You and I have been siblings for so many years. Yet the whole world insists on seeing us as lovers, let alone Xiaoxing. The new emperor opened the menu and ordered some new pastries to take away. Then what am I supposed to do? He and I are merely ruler and subject. There are many things that can't involve personal feelings. I've already swallowed my pride and endured being slandered as an emotional homewrecker. What more do you want me to do? You must have a way. You're my brother. After all, I looked at him pitifully. Brother, please help me fix this. The new emperor wasn't buying it. Stop calling me brother. Even calling me father won't help. I immediately turned hostile and smashed the pastry in his face for the second time. Get lost. The new emperor ate the pastry again. Did he notice me last time at Jing'an Temple? I listlessly grunted in agreement, since he discovered me, yet still pretended not to and spent so much time with you. It seems he truly loves you. So, aren't you going to do something for your dear sister's true love? Fine, the new emperor replied very readily. I've been on the throne for 2 years now and my position is stable. It's time to put some things on the agenda. I want to focus on infrastructure. And you must do your utmost to help me. I was very surprised. I'm just a woman confined to the inner chambers. I don't know how to do anything. The new emperor sneered. Keep pretending. Keep playing the innocent. He flicked my forehead. Don't think I don't know you studied civil engineering. Me, fine. I reached out my hand. About to say deal, when a guard rushed in to report, Your Highness, our men failed to keep watch. Lord Xiao has already gone up to the 2nd floor. I jolted, thinking how useless these guards were, and skillfully dragged the new emperor toward the side room. There's a switch here that connects directly to the next room. No way. The new emperor said, twice in a row, I am the emperor. Same as before. if you're seen, you'll just be a mistress in spirit. My people were already on their way to hide with the imperial guards. I twisted the vase. If Xiaoxing sees us again this time. The screen opened, and my words cut off abruptly. Everyone in the room, who had been bustling about tidying up the scene, froze in place. Standing behind the screen was Xiaoxing. We looked at each other. My first thought was, it's over. There's no way to clear my name now. This is a first-hand scene of adultery being caught. But Xiaoxing, after all, had come from the battlefield. He remained calm and even managed to bow to the new emperor. I also let go of the new emperor's collar with a calm expression. 5 minutes later, under the new emperor's orders, Xiaoxing and I sat together at the table, with steaming tea and pastries in front of us. I asked, "How much did you hear?" Xiaoxing paused for a moment. "I was here since His Majesty entered the room. I heard everything." I took a sip of tea, then suddenly came to my senses. I grabbed a pastry and threw it at the new emperor's face, gritting my teeth as I said, "Ji Sui, you bastard, now that you're emperor, you even dare to scheme against me." I was wondering why the guards were so useless. How could the famous imperial guards and the golden guard possibly make such a mistake? Xiaoxing's expression changed drastically. He was about to plead for forgiveness when he suddenly realized something and stepped back instead. The new emperor ate his third pastry of the day and said, "You asked me to handle this matter, and haven't I handled it?" The new emperor picked up his folding fan and said leisurely, "Minister Xiao, you've heard what needed to be heard. I have only this one sister. You decide what to do." Xiaoxing stood up, cupped his hands in a salute, and said to the new emperor with utmost solemnity, "In this lifetime, Xiaoxing will never fail the princess." The new emperor reached out, and his personal eunuch respectfully handed him the book. He then pushed the familiar imperial strategies in front of me. He smiled and said, "The second half you wanted." Xiaoxing's gaze fell on the book, and I instantly felt as if imperial strategies had become a hot potato. The new emperor stood up, curling the corner of his mouth. "I'm leaving now. My empress is still waiting to celebrate the Mid-Autumn Festival with me." My brother left in a carefree and clean manner, leaving behind a mess for me to clean up. Xiaoxing and I remained silent for a long while before he said, "So the new emperor has this kind of temperament." I went over the conversation we had after my brother entered from start to finish and couldn't help but sigh. Those who become emperors really have thick skin. I covered my face in shame. Xiaoxing laughed, reached out and grasped my wrist, rubbing my prominent wrist bone. "The emperor cares for you deeply." For a ruler of a nation to not only set up a stage and perform a play himself, but to go to such lengths, was practically telling Xiaoxing outright, "I am her greatest support." Even the ruler of the nation treats her with this attitude. "You figure out the rest yourself." I felt a sting in my nose, my voice muffled. "He and I truly are as close as siblings. I'm sorry." Xiaoxing moved my hand away and took out a handkerchief to gently wipe my tears. "I shouldn't have thought of you and the emperor that way." I shook my head and leaned against Xiaoxing's chest. Those pectoral muscles, I've been craving them for so long, holding onto Xiaoxing's lean, firm waist. I felt like I was about to faint from happiness at that moment. Unfortunately, this clueless straight guy just had to ruin the mood. He picked up the emperor's strategy from the coffee table and asked, "So, what exactly is this?" As clever as Xiaoxing is, he has already guessed that given my character and that of the new emperor, this book could never be the real imperial strategies. "Go ahead and open it," I thought to myself, adding that whichever page he opened to, we would study that page tonight. Xiaoxing opened the book. Xiaoxing's face flushed bright red. I leaned in closer. "That's quite a challenging pose. Let's learn this one tonight." Xiaoxing held me, blushing as he silently nodded. We lingered affectionately in the tea house for a while. Then I borsally introduced Xiaoxing to the properties under my name before holding hands to stroll through the streets. The Mid-Autumn Festival atmosphere was thick. Every storefront was decorated with colorful towers. Flagpoles adorned with flowers stood before each entrance. The streets were bustling with traffic, and the passing crowds smiled while singing joyfully. The entire street filled with the rich fragrance of Osman. Thus, I sighed. "This is so wonderful. Next year must be even better." Xiaoxing held my hand and asked softly, "What is this infrastructure you were just talking about?" It's not something that can be explained clearly in a short while, but it's definitely something that benefits the people. I interlocked my fingers with his and walked to a quiet street, whispering, Yuji, my brother is by no means a foolish ruler who lacks tolerance. Xiaoxing looked at me in surprise. As if he hadn't expected me to bring up this topic. He is wary of your military power, but he would never stoop to using marriage as a means of checks and balances. I looked at him and smiled faintly. On the contrary, he is using me to tell you that he trusts you. Xiaoxing's eyes suddenly widened. My brother has always held you in high regard, which is why he agreed when I requested the marriage. I shook his hand gently. He is not content with merely maintaining the status quo. He has the ambition to rival the great emperors of Qin and Han. You will come to understand this, because you will become his right-hand man in expanding the empire. Xiaoxing's grip on my hand suddenly tightened, so much that it almost hurt. He pulled me into his embrace, burying his head in the crook of my neck, and remained silent for a long time. After a long while, I finally heard him ask in a muffled voice, "Did you go and request the marriage decree?" He was actually asking about this. I laughed and said yes. "May I call you Xuanji from now on?" I stepped out of Xiaoxing's embrace. "Call me Chang'e, that's what my brothers call me." Xiaoxing hesitated a little, as this was my official title as a princess, and even the emperor addressed me this way. I grabbed his sleeve, looking up at him. "Only those close to me call me that. Chang'e." Xiaoxing called my name softly, and at that moment, fireworks bloomed in the sky, the tenderness in his eyes making me dizzy. I stood on tiptoe to kiss him. "I'm here." In the third year of Day, the new emperor appointed Xiaoxing, the heir of Pingchang Marquis, as the commander of the Central Army, leading the Xiao family's iron cavalry to garrison the capital and its surrounding areas. He also dispersed the 70,000 troops surrendered by Pingchang Marquis into the Imperial Guard and the Palace Guard, selecting 20,000 elite soldiers to be incorporated into the Xiao family's iron cavalry. The imperial examination system was thoroughly reformed from the inside out, with the addition of a technical and practical faction, expanding enrollment by over 1,000 people. The Ministry of Works officially launched the first 5-year infrastructure plan, and I was conscripted like a brick, being moved wherever I was needed, but the condition was that I couldn't be needed everywhere at once. The knowledge from the future spans too wide a range. Relying on me alone, I couldn't accurately convey it all. Under my brother's persuasion, I started a class, educating newcomers while still being conscripted. After being exploited like this for 2 months, I finally realized and cursed the new emperor for being both feudal and capitalist, treating me like a black slave. After Xiaoxing led the Xiao family's iron cavalry to subdue the Xiongnu, he was ordered to expand the territory to the northwest. Upon careful calculation, we realized it had been half a year since we last saw each other. Damn, what kind of heartless capitalist is this? Keeping the two of us, husband and wife, running around like headless chickens. The scariest part is, we actually seem to be enjoying it. In the 3rd month of spring, the imperial capital was adorned with a sea of blooming flowers, and Xiaoxing finally returned to the capital with his troops. I had been working myself to the bone for 2 months on my brother's planned library project, having drawn over 10 drafts until I was sick of it. The moment I heard the news of Xiaoxing's return to the capital, I immediately went on strike. I rode out of the capital overnight with my guards on swift horses, carrying the chill of the morning dew, and arrived at Wangjun Pavilion by dawn. In the distance, the marching troops stretched like a dark line along the mountain ridge. The Xiao family's military banner, embroidered with the character Yi, fluttered vigorously in the rising sun. I whistled, and the sound echoed through the mountains. Suddenly, a black horse charged out from the ranks, its hooves shaking the ground. As the sun rose in the east, Xiaoxing, clad in crimson short attire with gold-trimmed narrow sleeves, galloped swiftly toward me. I shouted, "Xiaoxing, closer now." The gerfalcon perched on Xiaoxing's shoulder raised its head and cried out, spreading its wings to soar into the sky. I called out again, "San Lang." The jade pendants hanging from Xiaoxing's belt jingled softly. A swift gust of wind swept by, and the world spun around me. When I opened my eyes, I was laughing as I fell into Xiaoxing's embrace. the chill and his familiar scent enveloped me. The horse, as if understanding human emotions, slowed its pace. I wrapped my arms around his waist and whispered softly, "I've missed you so much, I feel the same." Xiaoxing lowered his head to kiss me, his stubble prickling with a mix of pain and ticklishness. Holding onto his shoulders, I leaned back and gazed into the distance. The sea eagle soared past the winding army, diving downward, leaving behind a distant and mysterious cry. The rising sun bathed the land in its light. The mountain winds howled, the clouds hung high, and the earth stretched wide. A pair of lovers shared a kiss beneath the vast expanse of heaven and earth. The end.